subscribe to the channel right now. Hit that like button and get ready to share your thoughts in the comments. The tension is about to break. The ascension of Sophia, beyond the betrayal, a public display of the mistress. A billionaire is left in shock when his pregnant wife arrives with a CEO. A deathly silence falls over the grand ballroom. The crystal chandeliers reflect the tension coursing through the air. At the center of it all, Julian Sterling, a self-made billionaire in an impeccable tuxedo, smugly presents his elegant mistress to high society. The guests gasp at this brazen display, whispering in discreet corners. Suddenly, the double doors burst open, and a heavily pregnant young woman enters. It is Julian's wife, Sophia. But that isn't the only surprise. Flanking her is the elusive billionaire CEO Ethan Vance, who seems determined to protect her at all costs. The scandal is about to explode, and no one in this room will leave unscathed. Brace for impact. Have you ever felt underestimated by someone you loved? Share your story in the comments and subscribe so you don't miss this tale of power and redemption. The fragility of a golden dream. Sophia Vance thought she had it all. A loving husband, a luxurious lifestyle, and a precious baby on the way. Whispers of betrayal seemed unimaginable until she witnessed them herself. In a moment that changed everything, Sophia's world crumbled beneath her feet. With her heart in pieces, but her spirit intact, she walked away from the empire she had helped build, determined to forge a destiny of her own. Sophia Vance grew up in a humble home on the outskirts of San Diego, California. Her parents, Mark and Lucy Vance, were hardworking immigrants determined to give their children a life full of opportunity. Sophia embraced her dream with every fiber of her being. From a young age, she excelled in academics, art, and sports. She was the kind of girl who could dazzle with a paintbrush in one hand and a tennis racket in the other, her ponytail swaying as she balanced her many passions. When she entered Stanford University, she already had a clear vision of her future. She wanted to explore international relations, perhaps even work for the United Nations. But life had other plans for her, more glamorous, more treacherous. It was at Stanford where she met Julian Sterling. A tall, striking figure with a confident stride, Julian was known on campus for his sharp business mind and his family's wealth. Rumor had it his grandfather co-founded Sterling Industries, a conglomerate spanning everything from real estate to biotechnology. Julian's presence in any room was impossible to ignore. People marveled at his brilliance, but more than anything, they were captivated by his charm. Sophia and Julian's paths crossed at a charity event organized by a friend of hers, Monica Lane, who was raising funds for children's education in developing countries. Sophia was helping greet guests at the registration desk, and when she looked up and met Julian's piercing blue eyes, she couldn't help but feel a spark. He introduced himself politely, but there was an undercurrent of something deeper, an intensity Sophia had never felt before. Their first conversation was casual. She marveled at the design of the event invitation cards. He commented on how passionately she spoke about the cause. Yet, beneath the formalities, it was clear both had discovered something special. By the end of the night, they had exchanged numbers, shared inside jokes, and planned a date for the following week. Their relationship blossomed faster than anyone expected. Within months, they were inseparable, finishing each other's sentences and laughing at private jokes. Sophia wasn't just attracted to Julian's money, though it was hard to ignore the lavish dinners and high-end gifts, but to his intellect and vision. She could see him one day taking control of his family's empire and steering it toward more humanitarian ventures. He, on the other hand, adored her radiant positivity and her ability to connect with people from all walks of life. After graduation, Julian launched an ambitious tech startup that used artificial intelligence to optimize global supply chains. Although it started as a modest venture run from a shared office space in Palo Alto, it soon garnered significant investment from venture capital firms. Sophia, meanwhile, took a position at an international nonprofit, continuing her passion for making a difference. However, despite her love for humanitarian work, Sophia found herself increasingly immersed in Julian's high-stakes business world. She often accompanied him to conferences where celebrities or top-tier philanthropists spoke. Their glamorous nights involved red carpets, champagne toasts, and closed-door networking sessions. Soon enough, she began managing the social impact branch of Julian's burgeoning empire, merging her philanthropic ideals with his financial influence. They formed a formidable team, a business-savvy billionaire and a humanitarian with a big heart. Their wedding was the talk of the year. Held at the Sterling family estate in Napa Valley, the guest list read like an international who's who. Politicians, Hollywood actors, tech moguls. Everyone wanted to witness the union of these two brilliant stars. Sophia's father, Mark, walked her down the aisle with tears of pride in his eyes, while Lucy cheered her on. Julian's parents, Richard and Catherine, watched fondly, confident that their only son had found the perfect bride to stand by his side. In the golden glow of that summer afternoon, under a canopy of roses, Sophia vowed to love and cherish Julian forever. Little did she know that the forever she imagined was much more fragile than she believed. Because beneath the surface of every seemingly perfect life, shadows can lurk, waiting for the right moment to disrupt even the grandest plans. Do you think Sophia and Julian were destined to be together? Or would wealth and power test their love? Comment your opinion below and share this video with your friends. The first shadows of doubt as Julian's empire expanded, so did the demands on his time and energy. Sophia tried to keep pace with the changes while struggling to preserve the genuine, close-knit relationship that defined their early years. But cracks were forming, however invisible they might be to the untrained eye. Whispers about Julian's overworking and rumors of extra-matrimonial distractions began to circulate in the circles they frequented. Sophia ignored them, confident in her love, and sure that no one knew her husband better than she did. For a moment, scandal seemed inconceivable. However, as time would prove, the truth can be much stranger and more devastating than fiction. Julian Sterling's rise from a promising Stanford graduate to a billionaire CEO was nothing short of meteoric. His tech startup, Sterling Logistics Solutions, cornered a market few had even imagined existed. Major retailers, e-commerce giants, and international shipping conglomerates clamored for his expertise. With astute investments, a series of timely acquisitions, and a bit of luck, Julian grew richer every day. He soon began appearing in Forbes and Fortune headlines, hailed as the next big name in Silicon Valley. Sophia, for her part, found herself swept up in a whirlwind of luxury she never fully anticipated. She moved from her comfortable, modest apartment to Julian's sprawling penthouse in New York City. The floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of Central Park and the skyline, the city glittering in the distance like a promise of infinite possibilities. Her favorite part of this new home was the library, a quiet sanctuary filled with rare books on art, history, and global affairs. Between her philanthropic projects, she would lose herself there for hours, immersing herself in stories that transported her away from the frantic pace of the city. As the money piled up, Julian's extravagances grew. He bought a private jet and named it Sophia's Wings, insisting it was a tribute to his beloved wife. Designer dresses began to fill her walk-in closets, and invitations to exclusive charity galas became weekly events. When the Sterlings went out to dinner, they did so at Michelin-starred restaurants, always with a chauffeur and a small entourage of discreet security. Despite the dazzling opulence, Sophia remained grounded. She insisted on personally greeting every member of their household staff, from the housekeepers to the sous chef who prepared Julian's gourmet meals. She knew all their names and the names of their children. Her warmth and sincerity earned her the love and loyalty of everyone around her. Even Catherine Sterling, Julian's often reserved mother, was won over by Sophia's genuine heart. For a time, it seemed like a golden age in their marriage. They traveled to Tokyo for business conferences, stopping at ancient temples in Kyoto to offer silent prayers for continued blessings. In Paris, where Julian hoped to expand his logistics empire into the European market, they found a cozy apartment overlooking the Seine and made it their second home. They hosted diplomats, CEOs, and celebrities alike, forging partnerships that made Sterling Logistics Solutions a household name among global companies. Sometime amidst these dazzling successes, Sophia discovered she was pregnant. The news filled her with indescribable joy. She imagined a little boy running through the halls of their estate, laughing freely under the sun, the living image of Julian's best qualities and her own maternal spirit. Julian was thrilled at first, immediately promising the best medical care money could buy. He booked prenatal appointments with renowned doctors at prestigious hospitals. He even commissioned a lavish nursery designed by an award-winning interior decorator. However, as the pregnancy progressed, Sophia felt a certain distance in Julian. He stopped attending some of her medical appointments, delegating them to his personal assistant, Gregory. Business trips to Dubai, London, and Berlin became more frequent and more secretive. When she asked for details, Julian dismissed her, claiming it was all last-minute business. Then came the late-night phone calls, the hushed tones, the hasty hang-ups whenever she entered the room. Sophia tried to rationalize it. Maybe the stress of expanding his empire was getting to him. Maybe he was simply worried about balancing fatherhood and business. One afternoon, while Sophia was resting in their Paris apartment, she received a call from her old friend, Monica Lane. Monica worked in venture capital and often circulated in the same circles as the Sterlings. With a hesitant tone, Monica mentioned hearing rumors about Julian's closeness with a young socialite named Claudette Leclerc, an heiress who dabbled in fashion design. Sophia's heart shrank, but she laughed it off, reminding Monica that rumors were the lifeblood of gossip columns, especially when it came to high-profile marriages. However, she couldn't entirely shake the growing unease. The seed had been planted, and doubt began to weave itself into her thoughts. She recalled fleeting moments, a faint lipstick mark on Julian's collar that he had claimed was from her earlier kiss, a kiss she didn't remember sharing, or the times he claimed to be exhausted from meetings but arrived home strangely energized, wearing a cologne that wasn't the usual brand she had gifted him. Little by little, these small inconsistencies piled up like puzzle pieces, forming an unwanted picture. Still, Sophia was determined not to give in to suspicion without solid proof. She had seen too many marriages crumble under unfounded paranoia. Besides, Julian was her husband, her partner, the man who once swore eternal devotion under an arch of roses. She reminded herself of the philanthropic initiatives they led together, the genuine moments of laughter and closeness they had shared. Could it all have been a facade? No, she thought. There has to be a logical explanation. But as Sophia would soon discover, logic had little to do with the storm that was about to unleash on her life. She was about to realize that money and fame could protect you from many things, but not from betrayal. Not when it came from the very person who claimed to love you most. What would you do if small doubts started piling up in your relationship? Would you risk searching for the truth or try to ignore them? Share your opinion and share this video with your friends. The truth uncovered. The moment of truth arrived in a way Sophia could never have predicted. She was several months pregnant, her belly gently curved under the soft fabrics of a designer maternity dress. She had flown back to New York unexpectedly after a brief visit to her parents in San Diego, feeling a pressing need to reconnect with her roots. Julian believed she would be away for 2 more days, which gave her an idea. She wanted to surprise him with a romantic dinner at home, just the 2 of them, celebrating the little life growing inside her. After instructing the house staff to prepare Julian's favorite meal, roasted lamb chops with rosemary and garlic, Sophia bought a bouquet of red roses from the local florist. She even picked up a special tiramisu from a bakery she knew he loved. With an excited flutter in her heart, she headed to their penthouse, imagining his surprised expression upon seeing her. What she found instead was a scene that would be etched in her memory forever. The penthouse was strangely quiet when Sophia entered. She expected to see their butler, Gregory, bustling about, or at least hear some soft music. Instead, the silence felt almost eerie. She left the bouquet on the marble foyer table and tiptoed toward the master bedroom, guided by faint voices. The door was slightly ajar, allowing her a glimpse of something that froze her blood. Julian was not alone. Standing next to him was a tall, slender woman with dark hair, wearing only a silk robe. They were laughing, an intimate sound that sent a shiver of repulsion through Sophia. Then, without warning, the woman leaned in and planted a slow, deliberate kiss on Julian's lips. He responded with disturbing ease, his arms wrapping around her waist as if he had done it 1,000 times. The shock hit Sophia like a physical punch. She almost dropped the pastry box, the thud resonating on the hardwood floor. The woman, whom Sophia immediately recognized as Claudette Leclerc from the photo she had once seen, turned in surprise. Julian stepped back, his expression transforming from confusion to horror in the blink of an eye. For endless seconds, no one moved. Sophia felt her heart beating so hard she wondered if they could hear it. Words stuck in her throat, unable to escape. All the rumors, the lipstick marks, the late nights. They weren't just illusions. They were a cold, hard reality unfolding right before her eyes. Sophia, Julian finally managed to utter, his voice cracking. It's not what it looks like. But how could it be anything else? Tears welled up in Sophia's eyes. Carefully, she set the pastry box on the floor. Her hands shook, desperate to maintain some semblance of control. She had walked into the kind of betrayal no excuse could rectify. Claudette, for her part, seemed unmoved by the gravity of the situation. She observed Sophia's belly with a faint, mocking smile before turning to gather her belongings. "I'll leave you 2 to talk," she said. Her French accent dripped with condescension. She slipped into the adjacent bathroom, disappearing behind a closed door. Shock gave way to fury inside Sophia. She wanted to scream, to lung at the couple, to demand an explanation. But instead, she found herself choking back sobs, shaking her head in disbelief. "Why, Julian? Why would you do this?" He approached her, reaching out as if to hug her. "Please, Sophia, listen." No. She stepped back, rejecting his touch. For an agonizing second, the image of the life they had built together flashed through her mind. Their philanthropic initiatives, their wedding, the child she carried. And here was the father of that child, deceiving her so brazenly, so carelessly, in the very home they shared. "I can't do this," Sophia whispered, tears running down her face. In that moment, she knew that any trust or love she once had for Julian had shattered. She turned around and fled the penthouse, ignoring his pleas. She reached the elevator, frantically pressing the button until the doors closed. As she descended, her tears burst forth in torrents. Every sob threatened to fracture her completely. She hugged her belly as if protecting her child from the heartbreak crashing down on her. In the lobby, the startled staff looked at her with confusion, but she ignored them, stumbling out into the street. A cold blast of New York wind hit her, snapping her back to the present. She hailed a taxi with trembling hands, not even sure of her destination. All she knew was that she had to get away from that place, from the lies, the betrayal, and the man she thought she knew. Somewhere in her mind, Sophia felt a new resolve brewing. She would not crumble. She would not let herself be defined by Julian's betrayal. But first, she needed time to plan her next steps. She needed to protect herself and her unborn child. For the first time since marrying him, she realized that Julian's power and wealth could be used against her. That thought terrified her almost as much as the betrayal she had just witnessed. Sophia spent the night in a luxury hotel in the heart of the city, though she barely registered her surroundings. The plush bed, the skyline view, the spa facilities, it all meant nothing in the face of her emotional devastation. She relived the moment in the penthouse over and over, hoping it would somehow change, but it never did. Julian's betrayal was a fixed, brutal truth. Her phone vibrated incessantly with calls and messages from Julian, but she refused to answer. All she could do was curl up in bed with her protective arms crossed over her belly. She kept reminding herself to stay calm for the baby's sake. Through the haze of pain, she managed to call her best friend, Monica Lane, who came without hesitation. Monica found Sophia crying, eyes swollen, hair messy, but there was a quiet resolve beneath her despair. Over cups of herbal tea, Sophia told her every detail. Monica listened without judgment, her own eyes flashing with anger at the thought of Julian's infidelity. "He doesn't deserve you," she said, hugging Sophia. "You know that, right?" Sophia nodded shakily, unsure if she truly believed it yet. She felt so many emotions: anger, sadness, betrayal, and strangely, guilt. Despite Julian's wrongdoing, she wondered if she had somehow failed as a wife. It was a fleeting thought, quickly drowned out by her own sense of dignity. No, she told herself. This was his fault, and his alone. By morning, Julian's calls became desperate. He left voicemail after voicemail, alternating between tearful apologies and frantic demands to meet. Sophia ignored him, hardening her heart against his pleas. She realized she needed a plan if she was going to leave him. She had to do it cleanly, safely, and in a way that protected her future and that of her unborn child. Her phone vibrated again, and this time she recognized the number. It was Catherine Sterling, Julian's mother. With trembling fingers, Sophia answered. Catherine's worried voice flooded her ear. "Sophia, dear, please talk to me. Is it true what Julian told me? He said you caught him and Claudette in the apartment." Sophia clenched her jaw. Her emotions surged again. "Yes," she managed to say, her voice shaking. "I don't know what else to do. I'm done, Catherine. I can't live like this." There was a long pause on the other end. "I understand," Catherine finally replied, her tone heavy with sadness. "I am so sorry. I never imagined he would betray you like this. I am trying to get to the bottom of it. Please, if you need anything, call me. No matter what happens between you and Julian, you will always be family to me." That promise did little to ease Sophia's pain, but it reminded her she wasn't entirely alone. She thanked Catherine, then hung up, sinking back into the hotel's plush armchair. The future seemed like a hazy landscape, but in her heart she felt a growing resolution. 2 days passed without direct contact until Julian discovered which hotel she was staying at. He showed up in the lobby, demanding to speak to her. Security alerted Sophia's suite. Through the reception phone, she could hear Julian pleading, "Please, Sophia, let me talk to you. Yo, Gumad, we can fix this." She remained silent until she heard him say, "I love you. Think about our baby." Something inside her snapped. She grabbed her phone and dialed Julian's number, refusing to see him face to face. When he answered, she said, "I'm only going to say this once. We are done. I want a divorce." His panicked response came in gasps. "Sophia, please, no. We can go to therapy. We can—" She interrupted him. "How long has this been going on?" A long silence. He hesitated. And she already knew. "A few months," he admitted quietly. Sophia swallowed hard, holding back tears. "You knew I was pregnant, and you still cheated on me. You lied to me, Julian, every single day." She could almost feel him shrinking on the other end. "I made a mistake." "No," she cut in, her voice becoming firmer. "A mistake is forgetting our anniversary. This was a choice. Repeated, conscious choices to be unfaithful. I am not going to subject myself or our child to this kind of pain." Despite his frantic protests, Sophia made her stance clear. "I will have my lawyer contact you with the details. Do not call me unless it is about the child. I cannot bear to hear your excuses." She hung up. Her whole body was shaking. In a single phone call, she had ended her marriage. The surreal feeling crushed her. Yet a part of her felt strangely liberated. She had taken the first step to reclaiming her life. The next steps would be hard. There would be legal battles, public scrutiny, and a heartbreak to overcome. But she refused to let herself be defined by her husband's betrayal. After the call, she collapsed onto the bed, sobbing into the silk sheets. Monica held her hand until she calmed down, repeating quiet words of encouragement. And through the tears, Sophia thought of the baby growing inside her. She promised her child they would have a better life, free of deceit and heartbreak. She would build that life, however long and winding the road might be. Do you think Sophia made the right decision? How do you think the divorce will affect her life and her child's? Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to find out the next chapter. A new beginning in Milan. With the divorce proceedings initiated, Sophia quickly realized how complicated life could become when one was married to a billionaire. Paparazzi hounded her at every turn, eager to snap the first photo of the scorned wife. Speculative headlines began to appear in the tabloids. Sophia Vance flees cheating billionaire, and heir apparent's mistress revealed. Even reputable business publications tracked the drama, noting how Julian's personal scandal might affect the stock price of Sterling Logistics Solutions. Sophia yearned for a break from the relentless gossip and the painful memories haunting every corner of New York. The city that once seemed like the pinnacle of her dreams now felt suffocating, tainted by betrayal and heartbreak. She craved an escape, a chance to regroup, to breathe, and to protect her child from the storms surrounding her. That was when she made a bold decision. She would go abroad. One of her closest friends from her nonprofit days, Adriana Moretti, had moved to Milan to work at a prestigious art gallery collaborating with UNESCO. Adriana had been urging Sophia to visit for years, praising the city's vibrant culture, sumptuous food, and dynamic philanthropic community. A new environment might be exactly what Sophia needed to regain her balance. Before leaving, she met privately with her lawyer, Brenda Martin, to finalize the necessary steps for the divorce. Brenda was a sharp, no-nonsense attorney with a fierce reputation. She assured Sophia she would handle everything stateside, including managing any potential intimidation from Julian's expensive legal team. After all, Julian might have wanted to keep things civil, but money had a way of turning even the simplest negotiations into ruthless battles. Sophia's parents, Mark and Lucy, also offered their unwavering support. Although it pained them to see their daughter suffer, they admired her courage. Lucy packed Sophia's favorite homemade tamales for the flight. "Comfort food for when you feel lonely," she said, with tears in her eyes. Mark kissed his daughter's forehead, whispering, "Be strong for your son." Armed with a few suitcases of essentials, a folder of legal documents, and her mother's tamales carefully stowed in her carry-on, Sophia boarded a flight to Milan. The moment the plane took off, she closed her eyes and felt a wave of mixed emotions. relief, fear, hope, and heartbreak, all tangled into one. Arriving in Milan was like stepping into another world. The city's grand architecture, punctuated by the majestic Duomo di Milano, awakened Sofia's long-dormant sense of wonder. Adriana met her at Malpensa airport, enveloping her in a warm hug. "You are safe here," Adriana whispered, guiding Sofia toward a sleek black car, waiting to take them to an apartment in the historic Brera district. Over the following weeks, Sofia allowed herself to heal. She wandered the cobblestone streets, immersed in the splendor of art galleries, high-end boutiques, and hidden trattorias. She marveled at Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper and delighted in gelato at quaint outdoor cafes. Slowly, she rediscovered the joy of small pleasures: a sunrise over the Navigli canals, the aroma of fresh espresso, the lively chatter of Italian locals. However, she couldn't escape her own ambitions for long. While her pregnancy strengthened her resolve, it also fueled a certain urgency within her. She needed to secure a future, not just for herself, but for her unborn son. Adriana introduced her to influential figures in Milan's philanthropic and business community. One of them, Giancarlo Benedetti, a venture capitalist with a keen eye for social enterprises, was particularly intrigued by Sofia's unique blend of philanthropic experience and business acumen. Over espressos at the Armani Cafe, Giancarlo peppered her with questions about her background and soon offered her a consulting position at an incubator he supported. The job was modest by billionaire standards, but it was perfect for Sofia. She could stay in Milan, rebuild her professional credibility, and continue her humanitarian focus. More importantly, she could do it all on her own terms, free from Julian's looming shadow. Of course, the ghost of her ongoing divorce always haunted her. Occasionally, she received updates from Brenda, her lawyer, informing her of Julian's shifting strategies. He offered a hefty settlement in exchange for a quiet, uncontested divorce, but he also insisted on terms that included parental rights and visitation schedules. Sofia found herself torn between her desire to leave everything behind and her fear that Julian's involvement might overshadow her new life. During one of her sleepless nights, she received an unexpected call from Catherine Sterling. "I wanted to know how you were, dear," Catherine said softly. "The media here has been relentless. I worry about you and the baby." Sofia sighed, feeling a mix of comfort and anxiety. She had come to appreciate Catherine's concern, but she also knew the Sterling family was never truly free from fear of Julian. Still, the older woman sounded sincere. "I'm recovering," Sofia replied. "Milan has been good for me." "I hope you can forgive him one day," Catherine ventured, her voice trembling with emotion. "He is my son, and I love him, but I know he has hurt you deeply." Forgiveness seemed like a distant possibility, especially with the memory of Julian's betrayal still so fresh. But Sofia replied politely, "I'm not at that point yet, Catherine, but thank you for calling." After hanging up, she realized how much she had changed. The old Sofia might have responded with tears or confusion, but this new version of herself was moving forward, forging something remarkable. Even the baby, kicking gently inside her womb, seemed to sense her new determination. She allowed herself the small smile of hope. With each passing day, her venture in Milan took clearer shape. She attracted a small team of like-minded people, tech experts, logistics specialists, and philanthropic advisors who believed in her vision. By the time her second trimester ended, she had secured a round of seed funding. It was a far cry from the billions Julian managed, but it was a start. More importantly, it was hers. In quiet moments, Sofia sometimes wondered if Julian would try to sabotage her efforts or co-opt them for his own gain. But watching her fledgling company grow, she realized she was no longer shackled to those fears. She was literally creating her own future, one that no longer revolved around him. She might have been pregnant, betrayed, and far from home, but she had never felt more alive. The storm returns. The sun was setting over the canals of Milan when Sofia received a call that shattered her newfound peace. On the other end of the line, Brenda's voice, usually steady, trembled with urgency. "Julian is contesting the divorce settlement," she said bluntly. "He is also filing a petition to require you to return to the U.S. for hearings regarding child custody." Sofia's heart sank. She gripped the phone, pacing her living room as golden evening light filtered through the balcony doors. "He what? After what he did, he wants to drag me back to court in New York?" Her voice shook with a mix of anger and disbelief. She had hoped Julian would sign a mutually respectful agreement, particularly given the media attention he faced from the scandal. But apparently, he was changing tactics. Brenda explained that Julian's legal team was challenging Sofia's move to Milan as an attempt to alienate him from his unborn child. They were painting her relocation as a vengeful maneuver. "We can fight this," Brenda assured her. "We have strong arguments. You are establishing a legitimate life and work here, and you needed distance. But we need to prepare for a potential legal battle." A cold sense of dread washed over Sofia. She had come to Milan to heal and start over, not to wage a transatlantic legal war. The thought of returning to face Julian in a courtroom, especially while pregnant, filled her with anxiety. However, as Brenda outlined her legal options, she felt a stubborn resolve taking shape. She would not let Julian, or anyone else, dictate her future. Over the following weeks, tension mounted. Julian's lawyers sent notice after notice demanding documentation on her living expenses, details on her new company Global Bridge, and even medical records of her pregnancy. The invasive nature of these requests felt like a violation, a manipulative tactic to exert control. Sofia tried to stay calm, focusing on her blossoming company and her approaching due date. She had come too far to let fear consume her. Then, in a move that took her by surprise, Julian appeared in Milan. Unannounced. She found out about his arrival from Adriana, who spotted him outside the Palazzo Reale during a fashion exhibition. Sofia's stomach churned. She dreaded the possibility of a confrontation, but knew it was only a matter of time before he sought her out. Sure enough, Julian appeared at her apartment building 2 days later. She saw him from her balcony, stepping out of a black car, flanked by 2 suited bodyguards. Her heart pounded. She rushed down to meet him in the lobby, not wanting to cause a scene or have him intrude on her private sanctuary. Stepping out of the elevator, she saw him pacing, looking exhausted and determined. He wore a tailored navy suit, and for a fleeting moment, she remembered the man she fell in love with, the composed, charismatic businessman. Then she remembered Claudette's mocking gaze and the betrayal that had torn them apart. Julian started, turning toward her. His eyes fixed on her belly, and an expression of pain crossed his face. "You look—" He hesitated, speechless. "You look good," he finally managed to say. She crossed her arms protectively. "What are you doing here, Julian?" He stepped closer, his voice low. "Can we talk in private?" She nodded curtly, leading him to a quiet corner of the lobby, away from prying eyes. "I don't appreciate you showing up unannounced," she said, her tone brimming with resentment. "You could have contacted my lawyer if you needed to see me." Julian sighed, running a hand through his perfectly styled hair. "Sofia, this is important. I made mistakes, terrible mistakes, but I don't want to lose you or our son." His voice cracked slightly. "Let me fix this." Her anger flared hot and unyielding. She pressed a hand to her belly, a protective gesture. "You can't just fly to Milan and pretend to be the repentant husband. Julian, you made your bed, literally. I am done being your second choice." His jaw tightened. "I was under immense pressure, okay? The company, the expansions. I lost sight of what mattered. Claudette was a distraction, a stupid one, but that doesn't mean I don't love you." Sophia let out a bitter laugh. "You have a twisted way of showing love." They stood there in tense silence. The grand marble floor beneath their feet reflected their confrontation like a distorted mirror. Finally, Julian took a step back. "I am willing to settle this divorce amicably," he said, his tone softening. "I want to support you and the baby, but I also want to be in my son's life. I need your guarantee that you won't shut me out." She studied him, searching for sincerity in his eyes. A part of her wondered if this was another manipulation tactic. However, she also recognized that her son was half Julian. She couldn't deny him access forever, unless he proved unfit. "I'm not trying to shut you out," she said quietly, swallowing her pride. "But you destroyed the trust between us, and now you're fighting me in court, trying to force me back to the States." Julian nodded, a flash of regret in his gaze. "My lawyers advised me it was the strongest legal move. He paused, exhaling a weary breath. "Maybe we can find a compromise. I will withdraw the custody petition if you allow me to be present at the birth. Let me be a father." His words hung in the air, stirring conflicting emotions in Sophia. After everything he had done, a part of her wanted to slam the door on him forever. But she also felt a twinge of empathy, an acknowledgement that fatherhood could be transformative if he took it seriously. "I'll think about it," she said finally, voice tight. "But don't show up here again unannounced, and don't you dare try any more legal tricks to control me. I am building a life for myself here, and I won't let you sabotage it." A flicker of remorse crossed his face. "I understand." He hesitated. Then he offered a forced smile. "By the way, you look radiant. Pregnancy suits you." She didn't respond, turning away before her resolve could waver. Julian left, flanked by his bodyguards, leaving Sophia standing in the silent lobby. She exhaled shakily. Tears burned the back of her eyes. Despite her outward composure, the confrontation left her shaken. She realized disentangling herself from Julian was going to be harder than she ever imagined. But she also realized something else. Her life no longer revolved around his whims. She had global bridge, new friends, and the promise of a future built on her own terms. Julian's presence in Milan might threaten her peace, but it wouldn't stop her from moving forward. The storm might have followed her across an ocean, but Sophia refused to drown in it. She would stand tall, as she always had, and protect the life she was determined to create. A lasting legacy. With Julian's unexpected appearance in Milan, Sophia redoubled her focus on global bridge. She felt an urgent need to cement her company's foundations, as if success could shield her from the turbulence Julian caused. Her daily routine became a disciplined balance of investor meetings, product development sessions, and prenatal appointments. She worked in a stylish shared office space near Corso Como, where bright murals of world maps and motivational quotes covered the walls. Her team expanded from 3 part-timers to a core group of 8 talented individuals. They coded tirelessly, polishing the software algorithms that connected to NGOs with verified shipping partners. Sophia tested prototypes, sought feedback from potential users, and watched with pride as Global Bridge evolved into a robust platform. The day they launched a private beta, she treated the whole team to a celebratory pizza at a local pizzeria, the kind of low-key party that felt refreshingly unpretentious compared to her old life. However, as exciting as building a startup was, Sophia couldn't ignore her pregnancy. She was now in her 3rd trimester, her belly quite pronounced. Fatigue hit her harder, and her ankles swelled during long hours at the office. Dr. Lucia Romano, her Italian obstetrician, advised her to reduce her workload, emphasizing the importance of rest and regular checkups. Despite her ambition, Sophia took the advice to heart. She implemented a flexible schedule, delegating responsibilities to her budding leadership team. She began taking daily walks through Parco Sempione, enjoying the fresh air and exercise that eased her body. During one of these walks, Giancarlo Benedetti joined her, walking beside her along the winding paths under tall, leafy trees. Birds sang overhead, and a gentle breeze whispered through the foliage, offering a serene backdrop to their conversation. "I'm proud of how far you've come," Giancarlo said, hands in his pockets. "Global Bridge has real potential. We have several major NGOs eager to join once we finish beta testing." Sophia smiled, a glow of achievement lighting up her features. "It's been a whirlwind. Sometimes I can't believe how different my life is now." He nodded thoughtfully. "It suits you. You are no longer just Julian Sterling's wife. You are Sophia Vance, a force to be reckoned with in your own right." Her expression turned wistful. "A pregnant force to be reckoned with," she teased gently, resting a hand on her belly. Giancarlo laughed. "That only adds to your mystique." Their companionship had turned into a friendship Sophia valued deeply. He never pried into her personal struggles with Julian, though he was well aware of the tension. Their bond was built on mutual respect, shared aspirations, and the tacit understanding that some wounds needed time and empathy to heal. A few days later, Sophia attended a prenatal checkup and received surprising news. Her baby was growing big and healthy, and Dr. Romano mentioned the possibility of an early delivery. Instead of panic, Sophia felt an excitement tinged with anxiety. She was about to become a mother, and that reality eclipsed any business deal, any emotional scar. The next month passed in a blur of preparations. Adriana helped her decorate the nursery, a cheerful space painted in soft pastel tones, adorned with whimsical murals of hot air balloons. Sophia bought an elegant Italian crib and stocked up on baby essentials, determined to handle the transition to motherhood with grace and independence. Meanwhile, updates from Brenda in the US indicated that Julian's legal team had softened their stance. Possibly prompted by their conversation in Milan, Julian was no longer demanding Sophia return immediately, though he still insisted on a formal custody agreement once the baby was born. A part of her dreaded the inevitable legal negotiations, but another part felt relief that the situation hadn't escalated further. During one of her sleepless nights, she received another call from Catherine Sterling. "I wanted to check on you, dear," Catherine said softly. "The media here has been relentless. I worry about you and the baby." Sophia sighed, feeling a mix of comfort and anxiety. She had come to appreciate Catherine's concern, but she also knew the Sterling family was never truly free from fear of Julian. Still, the older woman sounded sincere. "I'm recovering," Sophia replied. "Milan has been good for me. I hope you can forgive him one day," Catherine ventured, her voice trembling with emotion. "He is my son, and I love him, but I know he has hurt you deeply." Forgiveness seemed like a distant possibility, especially with the memory of Julian's betrayal still so fresh. But Sophia replied politely, "I'm not at that point yet, Catherine, but thank you for calling." After hanging up, she realized how much she had changed. The old Sophia might have responded with tears or confusion, but this new version of herself was moving forward, forging something remarkable. Even the baby, kicking gently inside her womb, seemed to sense her new determination. She allowed herself a small smile of hope. With each passing day, her venture in Milan took clearer shape. She attracted a small team of like-minded people, tech experts, logistics specialists, and philanthropic advisors who believed in her vision. By the time her second trimester ended, she had secured a round of seed funding. It was a far cry from the billions Julian managed, but it was a start. More importantly, it was hers. In quiet moments, Sophia sometimes wondered if Julian would try to sabotage her efforts or co-opt them for his own gain. But watching her fledgling company grow, she realized she was no longer shackled to those fears. She was literally creating her own future, one that no longer revolved around him. She might have been pregnant, betrayed, and far from home, but she had never felt more alive. The consolidation of her own empire. The sun was setting over the canals of Milan when Sofia received a call that shattered her newfound peace. On the other end of the line, Brenda's voice, usually steady, trembled with urgency. "Julian is contesting the divorce settlement," she said bluntly. "He is also filing a petition to require you to return to Spain, the US, for hearings regarding child custody." Sofia's heart sank. She gripped the phone, pacing her living room as golden evening light filtered through the balcony doors. "He what? After what he did, he wants to drag me back to court?" Her voice shook with a mix of anger and disbelief. She had hoped Julian would sign a mutually respectful agreement, particularly given the media attention he faced from the scandal. But apparently, he was changing tactics. Brenda explained that Julian's legal team was challenging Sofia's move to Milan as an attempt to alienate him from his unborn child. They were painting her relocation as a vengeful maneuver. "We can fight this," Brenda assured her. "We have strong arguments. You are establishing a legitimate life and work here, and you needed distance. But we need to prepare for a potential legal battle." A cold sense of dread washed over Sofia. She had come to Milan to heal and start over, not to wage a transatlantic legal war. The thought of returning to face Julian in a courtroom, especially while pregnant, filled her with anxiety. However, as Brenda outlined her legal options, she felt a stubborn resolve taking shape. She would not allow Julian or anyone else to dictate her future. Do you think Julian deserves to be part of the child's life after what he did? Subscribe and hit the notification bell to see how Sofia handles the final showdown.